Welcome back to another episode of Star Charts. In this episode, we will be talking about the Tiber System. It's located here in Vandal space on the edge of the UEE. It has 4 jump points, one going to Vendetta, one to Orion, another to Virger, and another back into the UEE to Garin. Let's zoom in to Tiber and show you the system. The Tiber System. The Star Traveler's Guide to Tiber could be best summed up with a single word: don't. Or rather, don't. The site of countless battles between man and monster, Tiber is a bleeding world on the face of the explored galaxy that shows absolutely no sign of healing. Tiber was first charted by UEE long-range explorers in 2474, at which time it was promptly filed away as an uninteresting star system. A standard K-type main sequence star orbited by 2 small planets, Tiber bore no interesting resources, strategic jump lines, or anything else that would make it appealing for terraformers or other developers. Following the UEE's failure to hold Orion, its forces fell back to Caliban and Tiber. Given the obvious challenges of Caliban, most of these forces were stationed there rather than in Tiber. It should have come as no surprise that the Vandals seized upon the all but undefended Tiber system as a base for raids further into human territory. Vandal tribes moved into the system and essentially established a permanent garrison. Grinder. When Tiber's role in the then shocking Vandal assaults was discovered, the UEE dispatched its elite 6th Battle Group as a cleansing mission. Armed with antimatter bombs, the fleet roasted the Vandal encampments on Tiber II with impunity, leaving the surface a temporarily glowing mess. The response was immediate, overwhelming, and the most seemingly organized action that has ever been witnessed of the Vandal. Elite Vandal carrier air wings, the best of the best, cut into the otherwise occupied UEE forces and slaughtered them to the last man. Only a single remote observer stationed at the jump point to Garin escaped to deliver word of the devastation. Thus was born Grinder, ground zero of a multi-generational war between mankind and the Vandal. In the ensuing years, no fewer than 19 major initiatives have been made to push the Vandal out of Tiber. Massive fleet actions, attempts at global landings to hold Tiber II itself, the even clean slate operations designed to simply eliminate the ability of the system to sustain military occupation has all fallen flat. Millions have died in these attempts, and ever-expanding fields of wreckage are now legendary. Countless civilians, seeing the deadly battlefield debris as potential for profit, have made the same leap with similar fatal results. Today, the battle continues unabated. In addition to regular reconnaissance sorties and occasional reconnaissance in-force missions, the system is frequented by thousands of private spacecraft commanders each year. Whether they are attempting to prove themselves by engaging a scythe in fighter combat or trying to profit from the system's resources, their fate is nearly always the same: left as grist for grinder. The only remotely safe time to visit Tiber is, surprisingly, during a major battle. With UEE supply chains around the galaxy stretched to the limit, the military is frequently interested in civilian support for combat operations. Support ships carrying medical supplies and other necessities will generally be well protected, providing that they stay away from the battle lines themselves. Of course, identifying where the battle lines hang can be problematic itself, the system. Tiber 1. Tiber 1 is a small, dense planet close to Tiber's sun. The planet's CO2 heavy atmosphere is breathable, but the extreme heat from the nearby sun could make life here an unpleasant proposition, even without the constant combat. Although extensive surveys have not been conducted, all available research indicates that there is nothing of value on Tiber 1, and it is hard to imagine anything being worth the risk and expense of putting a human there to learn more. Tiber 1's orbit is nestled just inside the extraordinarily heavy asteroid belt, which makes exploration even more difficult. The asteroid belt is otherwise unremarkable. With low concentrations of valuable minerals, this belt is made up of smaller asteroids moving at high velocities and is largely lacking in sizable planetoids that could be converted into hidden bases, a fact of which UEE intelligence, eager to have a listening post close to TUM, is all too aware. UEE deep space photography stations have recorded an unusual movement of weather systems on the surface of Tiber 1, which meteorologists believe would allow for periods of improved conditions once every 4 years. Average clearance is roughly 3 days, during which the distance imaging seems to suggest the atmosphere itself becomes noticeably clearer, with CO2 concentrations settling around the planet's normal polar regions. With Van Duel hunter squadrons nearby, testing this hypothesis has proven a practical impossibility. Tiber 2, TUM, an arid desert world coated with nearly blood-red copper dust. TUM represents more than anything else the unquenching maw of the Vandal war machine. Much of the planet's surface is coated with the wreckage of spacecraft and other former war machines, the remains of countless repelled UEE attacks, private attempts at profiting from the unusual system, and destroyed Vandal technology layer the planet. TUM is not a permanent graveyard, however. The wreckage which accumulates there is in turn devoured by massive Vandal harvesters. These mechanical beasts ingest all forms of matter and convert them for use in the Vandal war machine. The harvesters found on Tiber have an even more terrifying dual purpose. They seem to be the source of the newer harvesters that have been dropped onto human colonies during raids. These mother harvesters, visually no different from harvesters observed elsewhere, are in effect duplicating themselves to spread terror throughout the galaxy. Everything from starship wrecks to the bones of fallen soldiers ultimately feed the very enemy they were attempting to defeat. The world is also home to countless Vandal war camps, Spartan temporary base camps used by the Vandal forces constantly on the move throughout the system. While humans would not find TUM's environment particularly welcoming, the Vandals seem to thrive in the climate, and they pay little mind to the landscape of destroyed spacecraft around them. The Vandal have never been observed to have a particular interest in capturing technology. Attempting to visit one of these camps would be suicide for a human being. But classified records from attempted marine landings have proved a great deal of knowledge about their usual layout. While TUM may seem an attractive target to hopeful salvage teams, be well warned that no one is known to have successfully landed on the planet to recover any of the priceless military hardware left there. Travelers are warned to avoid any such attempt. The UEE has never been able to establish a viable landing zone on TUM, and unless you are part of an unlucky marine detachment, you have little hope of even reaching the surface. And that was a look at the Tiber system. The UEE considers that Tiber system a red travel zone. Do not travel there without armed escort. Thank you for coming out and checking out this episode of Star Charts. and be sure to check out our other episodes. This is Mr. Everything signing out. I'll see you in the verse.